Hi there, lads! You saw the title of this video correctly, for today we talk about the mighty giants! Huge warriors of ELBAF, titans walk amongst the people of One Piece. Literal gods exist in this story! And his name is Usopp. But Usopp, where does he want to go? ELBAF, which is the home of giants! They wield giant shields, mighty great swords, and hammers that can cause lightning to strike from the sky itself! Also, I wanted to thank Barry. He was very gracious for lending me his infinite brick power to allow me to lift Mjolnir today. Okay, that's the only reason I'd be able to do it. I gotta give him due credit, and he's going to take that power away from me the second that this video's over. But he cares about the presentation of all of this, so he temporarily made me worthy. Thank you, Barry. Thank you very much. Alright, so I don't know if you guys remember, maybe some of you do, the longtime Tekking fans. I think back in like 2018, I was going to do a discussion series on the different species of One Piece. I was going to do a video on every single one. Some were going to be longer than others, obviously, because like the snake necks. We don't really know much about the snake necks, but maybe I would have thrown them all in a video with like the long arms and the long legs, included them in there. I would have figured something out. Now, prior to that, I already did like a big video covering all of them, but I thought I should talk about each individually. For some reason, though, couldn't honestly tell you why, the first video in that series was about the minks, and the second I got done with that video, I just didn't feel like talking about any others. I don't know why. It's almost like I just wanted to talk about Carrot again for some reason, but that can't be it, because hashtag not a furry is a thing. So, yeah, but I decided, hey, you know what? Giants, right? Let's get back to that, okay? Let's do it today. So, giants are not... Giants are not the... Okay, but really quick. Question to any Marvel fan out there. Is, Thor's hammer, like, only, like, heavy to lift when someone's actually trying to lift it up, like magic or something? Because, like, let's say we had, like, a 45-degree plane, and I tried to set Mjolnir down on that plane. Would it just stay stationary, or, would it, like, fall down like this? I'm curious. I'm just wondering. It doesn't matter. Anyway, giants are one of the most prevalent species in all of One Piece. Not the most prevalent. I would say right after humans, you got the fishmen and the merfolk. Those are the ones, the denizens of Fishman Island. I'd say those are the ones that Oda tends to spotlight the most. But beyond that, giants, solid third position, okay? And we definitely get to see a lot of giants in the story. They get introduced right around the same time the fishmen do. The fishmen get introduced right at the tail end of East Blue, and then only a couple story arcs later, and in Little Garden, Oda's like, oh yeah, giants are a thing. Also dinosaurs, don't forget the dinosaurs. Dinosaurs are gonna come back way later in the story, but giants are a thing. And you really I love Oda when he does that too, because you could tell, like, alright, early on in One Piece, maybe he wasn't 100% sure, like, how long the story was going to continue. You never know that kind of stuff with Shonen Jump. It's like you start a series, people might really be excited for it, but after like 10, 15 chapters, if it really isn't catching on, they're just going to axe your story. And even after a couple of months in Shonen Jump, nothing is like absolute. Oda didn't obviously know he had this big of a cash cow on his hands here, but he just kept going with it. And I feel like right at the end of the East Blue, getting into the Grand Line, chapter 100, Oda really felt like, okay, this is something that's going to stay serialized, and I really want to open up this world. I want to let everybody know, because not a lot of crazy stuff happens in the East. You know, the East Blue and all the four blues are pretty much, like, normal by, like, you know, this world's standards and everything, but when you get to the Grand Line, you know, shit gets live and crazy. So he's like, I want you to introduce, there's a different species, there's the fishmen, and there's the merfolk, and there's giants, and there's long arms and long legs, like, there's all these different races that coexist in this world with humans. Not really well, sometimes more than others coexist, but there's this big world out there, and all these different ideas, and that's kind of ties back to the whole theme of One Piece. I mean, like Odin said it best when he was traveling with Whitebeard. He was like, so many different people, so many different races, so many different perspectives, so many different viewpoints on the world and what it is. That's like one of the big messages of One Piece, right? And so we get that from the giants. We get introduced to them in Little Garden through Dory and Bragi, mighty warriors of ELBAF that fight on the island, basically because, well, I couldn't really tell you why. They've basically forgotten, so why do I need? I think it had something to do with a giant sea monster, maybe two giant sea monsters, maybe some kind of fishing, hunting contest, I don't know. But they're fighting each other, and whoever wins gets to go back with their head held high as the victor to their homeland of ELBAF. So, let's start by talking about, like, what constitutes a giant, because there's a lot of really huge creatures in the One Piece world. There is an elephant that pretty much lives in the stratosphere in this universe, okay? So, for a long time, it was kind of like, okay, is that person a giant? Is like Whitebeard a giant when he was first introduced? Because Whitebeard's a pretty tall dude. What about Big Mom? What about Kaido? Like, what constitutes a giant? It's actually been relatively recent that Oda finally spelled out like what is like the minimum height requirement for an adult giant. That only happened in an SBS maybe about a year or two ago. It's been pretty recent. And so Oda spelled out like, okay, for the minimum height, like the shortest adult giants out there, I'm assuming Oda was not including like children of giants, like actual grown adult giants, 12 meters. That's the breaking point. That's the deadline. 12 meters, and then you're considered a giant, okay? Well, by that standard, Whitebeard was only 6.66 meters. Really, he was 6.6. Wow. Okay, that's okay. All right, we'll just go with that. That's not a sign for anything negative or anything. And then Big Mom is only like 8 meters tall. Katakuri's like 5 meters tall. Okay, so these characters really, really big, especially compared to a human. But yeah, so that's the shortest giant. All right, so even talking like Big Mom standards, who's as big as a house, you know, still not to the size of a giant. However, the average size for a giant, we're talking like 15 to 17 meters. And Oimo and Kashi, the giants that we meet at Eni's lobby, the ones that were used to be a member of the Giant Warrior Pirates back in the day, they went out to find Dory and Broggy. They ended up getting captured by the Marines, and it's like, oh yeah, we'll let your bosses go as long as you guard this gate for 50 years or 100 years or whatever it was. Those two giants, they were about like average size. Dory and Broggy were a little taller. They were around 20. I think like Broggy was like 21 meters and Dory was like 22 meters. So a little bit taller than your average giant, but also keep in mind, like the average, you know, like you'd figure like the mightiest of mighty warriors, they're just going to be bigger and buffer than a lot of the other giants out there that are just living on ELBAF. Something important to keep in mind, not all giants come from ELBAF, as Jaguar D. Saul stated. Even Jaguar D. Saul was kind of like the upper end of average. He was like 19 meters tall, so he was even getting up to there like about as tall as like Broggy and Dory. Not quite though, but he stated like not all giants come from that place, and not all giants are like the Vikings, you know, or like praying to like the Norse gods or whatever, like, men, we shall raid the villages, you know, for ELBAF, you know, nothing like that. So there are probably a bunch of different settlements for giants all over the Grand Line. We didn't really get to see a lot of giants outside of the Grand Line in the New World. We didn't really see any in the East Blue or anything like that, but I guess there could be. And when it comes to ELBAF, like the government, we don't know much about it, but I'm imagining like Odin, you know, he's the Othin, he's the king or the father of all giants, so he's probably like their ruler, their king. Loki is their prince, so definitely taking references from Norse mythology there with the names at least and all that stuff. We don't know if ELBAF is really allied with the world government. It would seem like they would not have to be, not because they couldn't pay the heavenly tribute, they definitely could, but it's just like, we literally have a giant island full of giants. Like, you ever read Attack on Titan? Like, do you know what's going on in Attack on Titan right now? Like, you know, yeah, one giant on their own, you know, might be able to be defeated by a strong Devil Fruit user or a strong Haki user. Like, look at Hyrule, of course. Hyrule wasn't able to defeat all of the Doflamingo family just because he was huge. But you get an entire army of these giants, like, whether or not the giants have Devil Fruit powers, whether or not the giants know Haki, which I would assume they most assuredly would know, at least like armament Haki, right? They're giants. But even if they didn't know Haki and they didn't have Devil Fruit powers, you get like 1,000 giants, 10,000 giants, 1,000,000 giants. We don't know how many giants live on ELBAF. It's a giant island. You get like 1,000,000 giants marching as like a unified force. Even the world government's gonna back away from that. You're not just gonna be like, oh yes, we will have you under our thumbs. So I'm imagining, yeah, ELBAF is kind of its own, you know, its own body, essentially. But when it comes to giants that live in other parts of the world that are raised in other lands, they might, you know, be under the rule of the world government. Hence why you see certain giants like Jaguar D. Saul and the Giant Squadron, they work for the Marines and the world government. I'm imagining none of these giants that are working for the Marines actually come from the land of ELBAF. It seems rather contradictory to their nature, and the only reason Oimo and Kashi listened to the Marines was because they were basically, you know, not blackmailing, but like, you know, they were using Dory and Broggy's lives as like collateral. They were like, oh yes, you're looking for your bosses, Dory and Broggy. Well, we have them locked up, and we'll let them go as long as you guard this gate for 50 years. And they were, by the way, the world government had no intention of letting them go, you know, but they decided to do it anyway because 50 years to a giant's not that big of a deal. So it's like, yeah, not a big deal, but another other ordinary circumstance, I don't think giants would just listen and bend over backwards for the world government. The ones that were raised on ELBAF with that kind of like warrior mentality, they would definitely not do that unless there was a really, really good reason. So yeah, Saul came from somewhere else, right? So on top of that, though, we also have some giants that are even larger, and those are mostly the ancient giant race. We don't know much about that. We can figure that they're giants that are ancient, but that's all I got. That's what I can infer from that. We know that the ancient giants, like Ors and Ors Jr., they have horns coming out of their head. They look more monstrous, more Oni-like and demonic in appearance. Most giants that we see, like Dori, Bragi, Oimo, Kashi, they just look like regular humans just scaled up really big, you know, but aside from that, they look pretty much like ordinary humans, to the point where you had Lily and Stomach, who had the ability of that fruit that allowed her to shrink down to normal human size, and when she did that, she shrank down to the size of like Luffy and the Straw Hats and everybody. You couldn't really distinguish her from a regular human, okay, so there's really not much different there. But the ancient giants, yeah, they have like Ors was like hot pink, little Ors was yellow, they have longer hair, and they have the horns and the fang teeth and everything, and they're just super mega sized. They're on average about 4 times larger than a regular giant. So right here you have Oimo and Kashi that are both around, you know, 16, 17 meters each, standing on top of each other, and, you know, that's still not even, it's about halfway up Ors' body. Ors, by the end of the day, is, I wrote that down, 67 meters. That was actually retconned. It used to be, like, I think in the upper 40s, and then it was changed, which it makes sense that that was changed, because if Ors is supposed to be 4 times the height of a regular giant, and we got to see this scene right here during Thriller Bark, if Ors was like 48 meters, which I think his original height was stated to be, this doesn't make any sense, because Oimo and Kashi together are already probably getting close to 40 meters, so that doesn't make much sense. But yeah, that was changed later, that was retcon. Same thing with little Ors' height, it was also around 67 meters, about the same height as Ors, okay? The Yeti Cool Brothers, that were like the abominable snowmen of Punk Hazard, although I guess they don't really originate from Punk Hazard, because it was stated that they were like hired mercenaries by Caesar Clown, so they probably come from another snowy region of the One Piece world, maybe that ice continent that gets brought up every now and then, or the North or South Pole. The Yeti Cool Brothers, you know, they get defeated relatively easily by Law. Law just like severs one of them, and then like, you know, counter shocks the other one. Rock and Scotch were their names, so you didn't really think much of them. But no, they were about 42.5 meters each. That's getting close to 139 feet for both of them. You know, so that's crazy. So that's not quite as tall as Ors, but already you're talking like double the height of Dory or Bragi, who are already a little bit higher than average giants, or taller than average giants. You know, they might be higher too. I don't know what they get up into. Hey, listen, Dory and Bragi have been fighting on that damn jungle island for 100 years. All right, they have to have something to take the edge off at the end of the day. All right, the stuff that grows on that prehistoric island. Let me tell you, they like literally clash and fight all day. Like, ooh, boom, boom. All right, Dory. All right, Bragi. Well, guess we're taking a break. Yeah, all right. And then Dory just walks back to his camp, rips an entire tree up, takes it, rolls it, goes up to a volcano, and just lights it and just chills out against the giant Sea King Skull's mountain until the next battle with Bragi. Amazing characters, Oda. All right. But no, so those are the Yeti Cool Brothers, all right? So they're pretty big, but do they get bigger? I'm like, well, yeah. They do, kind of. You kind of have to cheat to get bigger than that, but they do, in fact, get bigger. Case in point, Juan Wolf. Wait, what is Juan Wolf doing in this tiny little... We have to get... Oh, there we go! Juan Wolf! Juan Wolf is quite simply the largest giant in all of One Piece. There are plenty of creatures that are bigger than him. Suriname, the Kraken, is bigger. Suriname is like 300 meters. Juan Wolf, by the way, is 180 meters. You have the Sea Kings, which are just gigantic, like 5,000 meters for the Sea King. Then you get to Zunisha, you know, that is like 35,000 meters tall. 35 kilometers would be an easier way of saying that. And then you got those weird things from the Florian Triangle, those giant creatures, which, once again, I just want to, like, tell you my theory about those things. What if those shadows are not individual creatures? What if those shadows in the mist are all, like, the eye stalks of, like, a Cthulhuoid creature underneath the ocean? That sounds that is even more terrifying, right? Like, those things would be like, you know, tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of meters tall, like in its full like body. You know, it would be insane, right? So I just want to throw that out there. But yeah, so there are larger creatures than San Juan Wolf. But when we're just talking about the giant species, San Juan is the largest, but only because he has a devil fruit. Now, we don't know what kind of devil fruit he has, but it's some kind of fruit that allows to increase his size. We knew that Lillian Stomach, who was a filler character, had that the fruit, the mini fruit that allowed her to change her size to be smaller. That was also a fruit that was owned by a video game character named Bruce, who was also a giant. So I guess Bruce died at some point, and then Lily had it. But Lily was also part of that Film Z tie-in. So my point is that that fruit doesn't make much sense for San Juan because that just allows him to get smaller. But there might be like an inverse to that fruit, a fruit that allows you to get bigger. And so it would be already terrifying if a regular human were to eat that, but if a giant were to eat that, whoa. And actually, something I noticed about San Juan Wolf that is interesting. So it was stated that 180 meters is his maximum size. Like, that's as big as he can get utilizing his devil fruit, okay? But it was also stated that San Juan himself is no bigger than an average giant, or like around the average size of a giant. So he's 180 meters tall. I was thinking, you know, 180 divided by 10 is 18. 18 meters would put you right around the average size range for a giant. So what if San Juan originally was only 18 meters tall, and we don't know what kind of fruit he ate, but whatever the fruit is, it gives him the ability to increase his size up to 10 times. So you can get, you know, twice as big as your size, 5 times as big, or you go 10 times as the maximum that fruit allows you. And that's San Juan's full power, you know, 18 to times 10 to 180 meters tall. So that's just my theory, just throwing it out there, but we do know 180 is his max. So yeah, he is as big as like the giant building at Marineford, which is already like huge. He could basically make himself so big he can just like walk on the, you know, ocean floor to get to island. That was also a big question, like how the hell did they even lock up San Juan Wolf and impale down then if he was that big? If he was so big he took up like most of Marineford, how could you even fit him down there? And the reason is, I guess, if you somehow managed to capture San Juan, maybe when he was sleeping, all you would have to do is get Sea Prism on him. If you get Sea Prism on him and he regresses back to his regular giant size, still a lot to handle, but we've seen other giants imprisoned and impaled down. You know, the government, you know, could definitely, imprison giants. We saw that when they were about to be executed, the remnants of the giant warrior pirates. So they could definitely do that as long as he's like 18 meters. That's tough, but that's still manageable. Also, you know, the government has giants working for them as well. So somehow managed to capture San Juan Wolf, put the Sea Stone on him, get him back to his regular size, and then send the giant squad in to cart him off to impel down level 6. It's feasible to make that happen, but you got to be very careful about him there. Hyrudine. Hyrudine is also taller than an average giant. He's even taller than Dorian Broggy. He is 22 meters or around 72 feet tall. At this point, I felt like it would be pertinent to talk about the ages of giants. Not like the ages of giants existed 5,000, although that would be amazing to learn about, like the history of giants and everything, but unfortunately we don't know much about that yet in the land of One Piece. Hopefully Oda will expound upon that later. Oda, I just want you to understand, like, I love your stories so much. I would love it if you could just, like, after One Piece is over, if you don't want to draw manga anymore, that's fine. You've definitely done more than enough. But if you could just, like, write out some just random lore about the One Piece world, like the history of giants and, like, little tiny essays or something, I would read the shit out of that, you know, because I just love world building and stuff. But, like the actual physical ages of giants. So it was stated by Dorian Broggy that giants live to be about 300. About 3 times the life expectancy of a human. Keep in mind, humans in One Piece even can live a little bit longer than in our world. I think right now, the average life expectancy for humans, it's about like in the 80s right now in our world. Women tend to live a little longer than men. But in One Piece, let's just keep it simple. Let's just say 100. It's not super, I mean, not everybody's getting to 100 in our world, but in One Piece, let's just say you can get to 100. So about 300 years old. Okay, but you have giants that can live longer than that, like Lord Fallbeard and Lord Mountbeard, the elders, the great warriors of ELBAF. They were about like 340 years old, so they were even getting older than that as well. So that would be the equivalent of meeting like a human in our world that's like 110. you'd be like, whoa, you're 110. That's crazy. With giants, it'd be like, whoa, Lord Fallbeard, you're 340? That's crazy, right? Yeah, he's like, yeah, I'm doing pretty good. I'm just glad a little girl in a polka dotted dress doesn't slam my head against the ground. That'd be the worst way to die for a warrior of my status. Don't worry about that, sir. That'll probably never happen. It 'tis my worst fear at night. You do. But anyway, yeah, Hyrudine is about 80 years old right now, so I would put him somewhere in, like, his mid to late 20s in terms of human. You know, he's very vital. He's still in tip-top fighting shape, sort of in his prime. The other members of his crew, like Rode and Goldberg and Gerd, they're all, like, in their 60s. I think Gerd is a little bit older because she was already, like, 12 years old by the time Rode and Goldberg were born. So Rode and Goldberg are, like, in their 60s, so probably putting them in their late teens, early 20s in terms of giant. Gerd is like 70s, so she's probably right around her early 20s. Hyrudine is in his 80s, so he would be around his like late 20s. I would probably throw it somewhere around there in their 20s. Dory and Broggy are about 160 right now, and they're about, I'd say, middle-aged, or getting around like age 50 in terms of humans. They're still mighty warriors. They can still fight, especially in the One Piece world. I mean, you're 50 years old in the One Piece world, you're still probably pretty damn tough. Look at Garp, look at Sengoku back when they were fighting like Shiki and everybody, like pretty strong. You know, they have like some graying hair, they're a little bit wrinkled, but not that big of a deal. When we saw Hyrudine in the flashback with Big Mom, he was 18 years old and he looked like this. So pretty much like a child, like I would say like a 10-year-old kid, maybe even younger at age 18 for a giant. So it takes a while for them to grow up. It's not like they get to a certain, like, oh, they grow like a normal human, but at a certain point they just stop. It seems like they probably wouldn't reach like the physical adult age until probably somewhere in their 40s, I would imagine. Then they actually start looking like, you know, 16, 17, 18-year-old humans. And then after that, beyond that, they might age a little bit slower, possibly. But yeah, I just wanted to bring up the ages thing there. Yeah, now, wanted to bring up the culture of them a little bit. As you could always figure, they're like a warrior Viking culture. Okay, there's going to be a lot of, you know, references from that when we finally get to their island proper. I mean, we got to see it a little bit during the flashback with Big Mom, but not too much. They had the whole, you know, the solstice festival and the Samla and all that stuff, which is taken from like Nordic traditions. So, you know, a lot of references to like Sweden and Finland and Norway and Iceland and Greenland and Denmark. I didn't forget about you, Denmark. I know, okay. Oda's going to take a lot of references from those places. Actually, it kind of reminds me of like back in Bleach when Kubo went on a trip to Germany to learn a little bit about German culture and like German architecture when he was drawing the last arc of Bleach. So maybe Oda will do something like that. Like after Wano's over, he needs a bit of a vacation, and he's like, you know what? I'm gonna go to Sweden, and or Norway or Denmark or Iceland or somewhere, and I'm going to, you know, learn about the culture and stuff when I'm coming up with the ELBAF arc. That would actually be really cool if he could do that, right? Even if it has to take a break for a couple weeks, I think it'd be worth it in all things considered. But something to bring up is that they do have a deity that they worship. When Dory and Broggy were fighting on Little Garden, they were essentially talking about ELBAF not as just their homeland, but also like their deity. They were talking about like, you know, we fight for the honor of ELBAF, and the winner will, you know, receive the blessings of ELBAF, and we shall return back to our home, such as the will of ELBAF. They said stuff like that. So, you know, I'm imagining their deity existed first, and then they named the island after said deity. By the way, ELBAF, it's just Fable spelled backwards, but it's cool, right? It sounds like ELBAF. It sounds like a Viking like location. It sounds cool, right? So they do have a god they worship, or maybe a whole pantheon of gods, just like the Norse people did back in the day. As I said, the Loki is the prince. We don't know for certain if Othin would be their father, their all-father, their ruler, their king, but probably so. Loki was in love with Lola, and Lola turned him down. You don't turn down the prince of the giant race. Probably not a good idea. That's why Big Mom was pissed off. So Loki, by the way, is actually even younger than Hyrudine. Loki was born around the same time as Rode and Goldberg, so he would only be in like his 60s right now. When, like, I guess whenever the Straw Hats arrive at ELBAF, they'll get to meet him. And, you know, so we only see Loki so far in silhouette, but he's definitely there. And on top of that, there was a bunch of other giants that we saw, you know, off to the side and everything, but nobody really major of note. right? But when we see the island of ELBAF, just this quick pan-out shot, we do get to see a giant tree in the center, which we can assume is the Yggdrasil, the world tree that also exists in Norse mythology. So, as a fan of Norse mythology myself, I am super pumped for this. I can't wait until we get to ELBAF and we get to see all the giants. The new giant warrior pirates, captained by Hyrudine, is in full operation right now. They left the Buggies delivery service and they headed out on their own as a part of the Straw Hat Grand Fleet. So you got Hyrudine as the captain, you got Stanson as the shipwright. Stanson was the giant that the Straw Hats freed, or Rayleigh freed, at the auction house. And then you got Girth, who is the doctor. She was a friend of Big Mom growing up. And then you got Rode, who is the cook. And then, no, Rode is the navigator. Goldberg is the cook. And, yeah, there's their crew right there. And they're sailing the seas of the New World. So I hope to run into those guys again, the new giant warrior pirates. That'll be pretty cool. Dory and Bragi are still currently brawling on Little Garden. Oimo and Kashi are freed from their bounds on Enni's lobby, and they decided to head back to ELBAF and just wait for their bosses after Usopp explained to them that they're still alive. They're just still fighting. It's just a long fight. You know, what are you gonna do? You know, I don't know if I want Dory and Bragi's fight to be, like, resolved in One Piece. I mean, it would be cool to see them again, like, because there's really no reason for them to leave Little Garden until one of them wins, right? You know, come hell or high water, they're not going to abandon their brawl. But part of me feels like the story should end with them still fighting, you know, just to have, like, that's what Viking giants do in One Piece, right? But part of me also wants to see them finally finish their fight, and they both return to ELBAF, and they get involved with things, you know, maybe later on during the final battle at Laugh Tale or something like that. It would be nice to see them fight alongside the Straw Hats, right? But yeah, I guess we'll have to wait and see on that front. But anyway, yeah, those are the mighty giants of One Piece. Can't wait to see more of them in this upcoming arc. It's going to be truly godly. Also, Usopp arriving and, you know, getting to realize one of his dreams, to become a great warrior of the sea, sure, but also to visit ELBAF. I think they kind of go hand in hand, because that's what Usopp really sees in the giants. He's like, they are brave warriors of the sea. How much braver can you get than mighty giants that journey the seas and, you know, beat up giant sea kings or whatever? I mean, I've said the word giant probably no less than 1,000 times in this video, so I think that's about a good time to end it as any. So yeah, Okay, Barry. Yeah, all right. Thank you, buddy. Thank you, buddy. I know. I'm not worthy. Okay. Well, anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. This will be Tekking, signing out. Giants!